What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Patrick, aka Addicted to Combat, back for a quick betting recap and results of UFC Orlando, which took place last night in the UFC. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson defeating Kevin Holland in the welterweight main event. And we had 14 fights, a super exciting fight night in Orlando. I mean, nothing's more exciting in mixed martial arts than seeing upsets and seeing things take place that you did not think would happen. As a fan, very exciting. As a gambler, somewhat frustrating at times. But out of 14 fights, 7 underdogs came through. Amazing. I mean, the favorites went 7-7. Out of those 14 fights, I went 10-4 on the picks. I did very well with predicting who would win the fights, but unfortunately, my success was not matched with the gambling results. Minus 6.1 units of profit last night. I went 1-2 on the money lines. I went 5-3 on the prop bets, and I had an entire progressive parlay, parlaying, in groups of 2, all of the fighters on the card, minus 3.9 units alone just on that progressive parlay, so minus 6.1 units on the night. The real killers to that parlay and just the bets in general, no doubt, Mark Casey, which killed a lot of people, killed some of my parlays, and then Jack Hermanson as well, parlay and the money line bet. One of my more confident fighters. Jack Hermanson got bullied in that fight against Roman Dolidze, and then, of course, cherry on top, Kevin Holland. I don't know if I'll ever bet on Kevin Holland to get in a fight, to be honest with you. I can't even think off the top of my head who I would trust his fight IQ against. Probably nobody at this point, so that was my fault on that one. But overall, just the way I just need to change my method of betting here. There was a point earlier in the year where, especially first quarter and then all of last year, parlays were super profitable for me. Things were, just piles of money, a lot of bankroll made on the parlays. Right around the summertime when some of the injuries were happening, early summer, I gave up parlaying for like 5 or 6 weeks, and lo and behold, those 5 to 6 weeks were profitable straight. So I'm going to go back to that parlay rehab, really just sticking most of my investment on the money lines, where I seem to be doing well, picking 10 out of 4 fighters, to win last night correctly. Not bad on a crazy card. So I should have matched that success with backing more dogs like Eric Anders, who I was leaning towards. Very low confidence, but I thought the money line was very mispriced. Should have thrown at least a unit on that. Clay Guida, again, I laid out a game plan for him to win the fight, but 40 years old, hard for me to, part with my money for that. But again, mispriced money line in my opinion. So some of them, hindsight's 2020. Mark Casey, I would have made that bet again. I thought he would employ his wrestling game plan against Michael Johnson and not get outstruck and showboat the whole time. But Jack Hermanson, another big one, that was just a bad call on my part. Didn't give Roman Dolidze the respect that he certainly earned. I thought Jack Hermanson would have the better of the grappling and the striking. I could not have been more wrong about that. So those are on me. There's a couple of... And then Kevin Holland, let's just talk about the Kevin Holland thing. I mean, I wasn't happy about that bet, and I even voiced that after I had tied him in a top parlay for 2.5 units, Kevin Holland with Rafael dos Anjos, easy cash, Jonathan Pierce, easy cash. I should have just stopped it there, but I had to add Kevin Holland on in the main event in hopes that my other parlays came through and I could hedge out on Stephen Thompson. Not a good strategy for, long-term profit, right? It's kind of a make-or-break thing, but Kevin Holland... Oof, man, I don't even know what to make of that fight. There was some easy opportunity. All of that could have been avoided for Kevin Holland had he capitalized on that takedown he landed in round 2. I mean, if you're having trouble catching your opponent, getting in range, Kevin Holland was doing his best work in the clinch, close quarters, not letting Stephen Thompson move. And what better way to not let your opponent move from your strikes when you're on top position in like half guard on the mat. And Kevin Holland stands right back up. Goes back to striking distance at long range. He did that not only in round 2, but I believe in round 3 as well. I almost lost my mind. I'm very calm and collected when I'm even betting a lot of money on these fights. It just doesn't really bother me that much. But stuff like that, where it's just such an egregious, move to not capitalize on a full mixed martial arts game. This is not kickboxing. This is not sparring practice. This is a full, well-rounded mixed martial arts fight where Kevin Holland is the grappling advantage, Stephen Thompson a grappling weakness. Why would you not capitalize on that on the ground? I don't know a lot about other sports, but that would appear to me like if you were in the World Cup about to win the game, dribbling the ball into the goal, the goalkeeper's taking a nap, and then you decide to say, no, that's too easy. Let me go back to center field and just, mix it up competitively again. I don't even know how to explain how stupid of a move that was for Kevin Holland. Drove me insane, and I wanted to turn the fight off right there, but I powered through and just knew that bet wasn't going to cash on Kevin Holland. But I don't even know who Kevin Holland would have to be across the cage from for me to ever bet on him again. The guy's just an absolute idiot, and that's just the way it is. I should not have bet on him and trusted him with my money. So it was him, Jack Hermanson, Mark Diakese. Those are the ones that really killed me. Aside from that, some of the props that did not come through early on, the Francis Marshall, Marcelo Rojo. I thought Francis Marshall was going to get his head knocked off. He's very hittable on the feet. Marcelo Rojo was getting some strikes off, and lo and behold, Francis Marshall, very impressive in round 2, flipped the script and got a knockout of his own on Rojo, but unfortunately it was like a minute too soon before that over 1.5 cashed, so lost that time prop there. The following fight as well, Genaro Valdez going to his first scorecards in his career, but I don't blame that one so much. I would make that under 2.5 bet again on Natan Levy and Genaro Valdez, both of them landing flush, getting some very powerful strikes off, nearly ending the fight, and, in the grappling as well, Natan Levy really going for it, to end the fight, but just didn't happen. I'd make that bet again. We talked about Jonathan Pierce. That was an easy parlay cash over Darren Elkins. First leg of that parlay was knocked off. Talked about Mark Diakese not going for takedowns over Michael Johnson, losing that fight. Clay Guida upsetting Scott Holtzman. Angela Hill versus Emily Ducote. So this is just another bad call. Emily Ducote, I put a small money line bet on her, which did not cash in the slightest. You saw Emily Ducote probably halfway through round 1 kind of mentally check out as she was getting largely outstruck by Angela Hill at range. The way I figured it, Angela Hill, half of the women she's going to fight in the UFC, actually more than half of the women she fights in the UFC, are going to beat her, and the other remaining half are just not at that level, and she can beat them. There was nothing in the tape that would point to Emily Ducote using her grappling advantage. She never really does wrestle offensively, so for me to really have back in my mind, I thought maybe it would enter that realm, but it did not. So just probably a bad bet on a very inexperienced fighter in Emily Ducote. Lost that one. Came back with a nice underdog cash on Phil Rowe, getting that round 3 TK over Nico Price. The fight pretty much looked like I thought it would, even though Nico Price did have Phil Rowe in some striking danger at some points. Eric Anders upsetting Kyle Dawkins. I regret not betting Eric Anders even after I had picked him. Jack Hermanson getting bullied by Roman Dolidze on short notice. Got to give Roman Dolidze some more respect moving forward. I don't regret the next fight, Sergey Pavlovich. I did call him to get a round 1 knockout over Tai Tuivasa. But that was a fight where you're going to bet Tai Tuivasa dog or pass just because these two guys, it was going to be a car crash and one guy was going to come out conscious, the other not. So it happened to be Sergey Pavlovich, the bigger man with the giant measurables, and that was really why I chose him there. So no strong conviction. Don't regret not betting that. Mateus Nicolau versus Matt Schnell. Yeah, I cashed a bunch of props on that. The under 2.5, the knockout for Nicolau, and the inside the distance for Nicolau. So I cashed all 3 of those. That was nice to get some profit back on a night that I knew was going poorly. The glass chin of Matt Schnell just was the determining factor there, and the clean striking of Nicolau. So I should have invested more on that. I put quarter units on those finish props for Nicolau, and just 1 unit on the minus 105 under 2.5. Should have went heavier on that. I felt pretty good about it, but again, it's men's flyweight, so the finishing potential kind of scared me there since they don't have the most finishing potential. But yeah, Matt Schnell's chin is just made of absolute glass. So glad to cash those 3 bets there. Of course, Rafael dos Anjos getting the round 3 submission over Brian Barberena, as sort of expected, looking every bit of that minus 500 price tag. That was the second leg of my 3-leg parlay. Which then, of course, I already talked about the main event, Kevin Holland getting, and don't get me wrong, I sounded very angry about the Kevin Holland fight. Amazing fight. I was very glad to see Stephen Wonderboy Thompson win that fight. I mean, it just looked like he was fighting just doing like bag practice, like kickboxing bag practice, on a a flesh-filled heavy bag, basically, in Kevin Holland. So, yeah, I mean, you do have to give Kevin Holland the credit of not quitting or going out sooner. It was a corner stoppage because of his hand and just the general damage he had taken, but he ate so many strikes to the face and did not go down. I can't wait to watch that fight again. He did show some toughness, but he's a moron, so I don't think he had many brain cells to get knocked out, and that's probably what kept him on his feet and not knocked out cold. So, I mean, if you don't have any brain cells, kind of like the Diaz brothers, you can't really knock those guys out. They don't have any brain in their skull to be knocked out, so how do you do that? But awesome win for the 40-year-old Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Again, yeah, moving forward, going to be very moneyline heavy. Let me know in the comments how you guys did on the night as a whole. I saw a lot of people did extremely well. Shout out to my guy Dale from the Punch List MMA podcast. Had an extraordinary night. Very good cash there. My guy Liam Bets Fights as well did very well. I think he predicted 11 out of the 14 fights correctly, so that's an incredible accomplishment on that night as well. My guy Johnny K. Picks squeaking through, getting some profit. I think he also called 10 out of the 14 fights correctly, so there were some people that did well in the night. I was not one of them. I'll do better moving forward, and I do have some awesome guests coming up for my live stream on Tuesday of this week for UFC 282. I have none other than Clint from the MMA, the Die Hard MMA podcast. It's going to be awesome, one of the biggest shows in this space, and he'll be a great guest. 9:30 Central Time on Tuesday, we'll be talking UFC 282. The following Tuesday, I'll have Manpreet from MMA Lock of the Night for the last card of the year. So thank you guys for sticking with me. Sorry I couldn't get profit this week, but hopefully you learned something from the breakdowns and all the content during the week anyways. I try to make them in a way where even if I'm wrong, you can still learn something from those videos. So speaking of, I'll have the full card breakdown for UFC 82 within the next day. So hit the like, hit the subscribe. Let me know in the comments how you guys did on UFC Orlando, and I will talk to you next time. Cheers.